In a world where global challenges demand collective action, public-private data partnerships have emerged as a potent solution to address the crucial need for data in measuring the progress of the 2030 Agenda and SDGs. These partnerships unlock a wealth of data and knowledge by leveraging the private sector's expertise, resources, and data.
First, companies are currently making significant efforts to feed the datasets of national statistical systems. They attend extensive surveys and allocate data in administrative records. And finally, it's common to find that companies doesn't have incentives to participate in data production projects because of these kind of projects not always connect with the core business of those companies.
In 2021, CEPEI and LearnAsia, founded by the International Development Research Center, IDRC, initiated a groundbreaking project. Collaborating with institutions worldwide, they explored the private sector's role in the SDG data revolution. Over 2 years, we fostered discussions to capture lessons learned and identify initiatives of private sector support to public institutions across the Global South.
Scarcity of relevant public data necessary in advancing the SDGs, making the information held by the private sector not just valuable, but often the only viable source. The first step is raising awareness within the private sector, especially among those positioned to collect or generate large-scale data relevant to the SDGs, such as the telecoms, and to convey the importance of this data for the societal benefit, which ultimately benefits them.
Examples of public-private data interactions abound. For instance, business-generated call detail records have been used in Sri Lanka and Colombia to predict population-level socioeconomic characteristics and displacement after natural disasters. In Africa and India, social media data have been used to map the population and provide alternative data to predict credit scores to expand financial inclusion. This is why the initiative resulted in 8 in-depth case studies showcasing successful public-private data partnerships. These case studies highlight how companies, governments, and civil society collaborate to enhance the use of SDG data.
Our initial mapping of public-private data partnerships found that many public and private sector actors regard data capacity building as a priority action for the region. Within this broad capacity building mandate, there is a strong emphasis on youth education and training, employability, and community development. The particular Caribbean case study that we examined in detail also highlighted some key insights. Building successful partnerships takes time and trust. There's a high transaction cost finding and mobilizing the right partners and partnerships. In the long run, social capital and established relationships have become the most powerful factors in sustainable private sector engagement.
So what we found is that both private sector and governments face different challenges in trying to form partnerships that have a meaningful impact on data for development, particularly monitoring and achieving the SDGs. Some of those are policy, where there are no frameworks, guidelines, or legal backing for data sharing across private and public sector. Some of this is related to risks. The owner of the data is worried that their data can be used to draw the wrong conclusions, and they might be blamed in the end. And that's just one example. But we saw in Asia this interesting phenomenon of third-party organizations acting as intermediaries between public and private sector. So one example was the UN Global Pulse Jakarta Lab. Because they were part of the UN system, they had the credibility with the government. They were also able to convene private sector and negotiate and essentially de-risk the partnership for the two parties and build trust. Now, it's not just the UN. Other civil society organizations, data collectives, sort of not-for-profit organizations of data owners, there are different models that help de-risk the data sharing agreement and create trust, and data can be shared. Some of it is even at a technical level, helping provide the data sharing architecture.
Through public-private data partnerships, we are not just mapping progress, we are propelling it. Join us in shaping a sustainable future for all. As we accelerate progress toward the SDGs, we invite private sector leaders, public sector officials, and changemakers worldwide to join us in mapping the landscape of public-private data partnerships for the SDGs. Your insights are invaluable. Share your experiences, challenges, and successes. Let's create a comprehensive view of the impactful collaborations shaping our world.